welcome you to our regular city council meeting for the city of Sueur, dated June 24, 2024. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. We'll begin with a pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Council members, you're all presented with your packets over the weekend. We have a little opportunity to work that over, reach out for the city administrator with any questions. At this time, I'll take any motions to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved. Second.
And if I may add, Mr. Mayor, thank you. There was one late addition to the agenda that all council members should have received a copy of, Resolution R 2024-036, which will show up as item 9F on the updated agenda, regular agenda.
Thank you. That is noted. It's included on our agenda. So with that, I will entertain any motions. I'm sorry, who did?
I made the motion. Schleter seconded.
Thank you. Mr. Sullivan made the motion, is seconded by Councilmember Schleter. Any other discussion, comments, or concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to presentations. Mr. Roby, you want to take us here? I see we have a rather large police presence tonight.
We do, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'd like to welcome everyone tonight for items 4A and 4B for the presentations period of this agenda. I'd like to invite Chief Pilar Steer forward. She'll be conducting the swearing in for two of our newest Sueur police officers.
Thank you. Am I talking? Can you hear me? Do I have to do anything? Okay, I'm going to speak loud, so then I can be enough. Thank you for coming. I know that things have changed through the years, and rarely do we ever see this oath of office or that we do together, swearing in ceremonies. But for us, we thought this was important. When I Google, a swearing in ceremony is an official event during which someone starting a new official job formally promises to be loyal, honest, and perform their duties well. Our politicians also do those. Today marks a significant moment for our community and our police department because we are gathered here today to swear two new officers. In a time where many young people are hesitant to pursue the career in law enforcement, it's truly commendable that these individuals have chosen to step forward and take on this responsibility. To our officers, your decision to join our department speaks volumes about your dedication and your commitment. You have chosen a path that demands courage, integrity, and compassion. Your willingness to serve is a testament to your character and your belief in making a positive difference. As you embark in this journey with us, know that you're not just joining this department, you're becoming part of a team, a family dedicated to upholding the values of service and protection. Your presence strengthens our resolve and reinforces our mission to serve and protect with honor. Welcome to Sueur. Welcome to our city, where community matters. Welcome to our team, where each member plays a crucial role in safeguarding our community's trust and safety. Congratulations, and may your career be filled with purpose, fulfillment, and the knowledge that you make a profound difference in the lives of those you serve. If I could first have Haley. Haley, if you get confused, we'll have her right there. So actually, I'll be on this side, so then you can read it too. Go ahead and put your right hand up. I state your name.
I, Haley Jones,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of a police officer
of a police officer
within and for the city of Sueur
within and for the city of Sueur
in the state of Minnesota.
and the state of Minnesota.
Thank you. If I could have Mitchell. I should have had it open for you. There you go. And so it's not quiet. Nathan? We also wanted here. Just wanted to make sure that Nathan didn't hit his head in the, we wrote their things back. And if you get lost, you have it right there. I state your name,
I, Nathan McRoberts,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of a police officer
of a police officer
within and for the city of Sueur
within and for the city of Sueur
and state of Minnesota.
and state of Minnesota.
Thank you, Nathan. Sally? And if you don't mind, we'll just take a couple pictures with like the three of us and with you guys, and then
Please.
we'll leave. Thank you.
Officer Jones and Officer McRoberts, I both step forward. I'd like our council to step forward and give you a little congratulations if we could. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's like a reunion.
Like if you can send it to, okay. never mind. Yeah, I'll let you do.
John.
You want it up here?
In the middle?
Oh, boys. Yes, like, yeah, there we go. We'll do it, we just did it at the end. Oh, sure. Thank you, Evan. I know.
Police photos are next member of the department.
Very good. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
We can step out unless you want to stay for the rest of the wonderful.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Chief Steer, for administering that oath. I appreciate Moving on with our regular agenda to agenda item 5A, that'd be the public hearing ordinance 606, amending airport lease term limit. Mr. Will, you want to give us a little summary of that, please?
I would, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As council will recall, at its June 10th meeting, City Council waived first reading of ordinance 606, which deals with an amendment to city code as it relates to the term limit for the renting or leasing of airport property. Current city code states that airport property may only be leased for a term of not greater than 5 years. Hence the recommendation of staff to encourage development of the airport to lengthen that term to a maximum of 20 years. As the Mayor stated, the second reading of the ordinance will be considered on the regular agenda. And prior to the second reading, council is asked to conduct a public hearing.
Thank you. With that, I will ask for a motion to enter into a public hearing.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Sullivan. Seconded, Councilmember Hui. Thank you. Any other comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor? Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. So if anybody signed up, think you want to check off. I don't know.
It's not the public comment, this is on the resolution.
No, this is a hearing.
Yeah, just
Do we have nobody here to comment on ordinance 606? So that takes me into looking for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Swanberg, seconded by Councilmember Williams. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to the consent agenda, Mr. Roby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 5 items on tonight's consent agenda. The first is approval of the council minutes from the June 10th regular meeting. Second is just approval of disbursements through today. Included in those disbursements are 3 items over $25,000. The first is the U.S. Bank debt service on the 2021 A bond, $71,031.25. The second to Bolton and Bank for their preliminary engineering work on the North 4th Street utility project, $30,581.50. And third to U.S. Bank debt service again for the 2020 B bond, $26,010. Item C, approve tobacco license renewals. Item D, approve an update to the city's earned sick and safe time policy. And item E, approve personnel action, which is the hiring of a firefighter.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for our city administrator regarding the consent agenda for tonight? Any of these items? If not, I will consider a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Sullivan, seconded by
Second.
Councilmember Swanberg. Any discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. This takes us into public comment. I don't believe we have anybody here signed up for public comment tonight. Anybody? Going once, going twice, going thrice? If not, maybe not, it takes us on to the regular agenda for the Oh, I'm sorry. City Administrator update, Mr. Roby.
Lest we forget, I've got an update tonight. I think you'll all want to hear this one. Real quick before we get into the flooding, zoning administrator Nielsen and I had the opportunity to meet a little over a week ago with Brennan Companies. Brennan Companies is the organization that's buying Park Elementary. Just to talk about their future plans. There are no future plans set in stone right now. That's the update that I have. They're pursuing their options as far as development of the property and considering whether to redevelop the property, the existing school, or raise the building and redevelop the entire site. So they're still considering their options, but we did meet them on site just to give them some historical context. Jack Wheeler, the EDA met him earlier tonight. He's our new staffer from Community and Economic Development Associates. Zach Bubani, some of you met. Zach moved on to different pastures in May, and Jack is the new staffer who will be working with the EDA. I'll be out of the office July 2nd through the 5th. And I would like to give kudos to all the city staff involved in the current emergency flooding situation. We had a great example today of public-private partnership. We were looking for a flatbed semi-trailer to haul sandbags from Waterville over here to Sueur. The city does not have a flatbed semi-trailer. We made a couple of calls, and some of the local trucking companies coordinated amongst themselves and found someone who had one immediately. So I'd like to thank Old Home Farms for providing a flatbed trailer within 10 minutes of us contacting them. Our next meeting will be July 8th. Now on to current events, and this relates to item 9F on the regular agenda. So I'm just going to give a summary of events that have unfolded and what we know so far, and please feel free to interject with comments or questions as I go on. City staff had kicked off internal meetings late last week to discuss at a staff level from a public safety and infrastructure standpoint what we need to do to prepare for the predicted elevating Minnesota River levels. We continue to watch both the weather forecast and the NOAA forecast for water elevation, as most people in the community were, and walk through each of our key points of infrastructure that might be threatened by the rising water. Talked about public safety, started reaching out to MnDOT and the county and our other partners in other jurisdictions to make sure that we had everything in line and we knew when things were going to happen as far as road closures in particular. The ongoing dialogue with neighboring communities, Sueur County, the city of Henderson, the state of Minnesota, continued through the weekend as we watched the waters rise and the roads begin to close. Throughout all of this, city staff's priority, number one priority, is public safety, and that's human life. So the community will see increased patrols from the police department, especially around the 93 bridge. Today, we have had several individuals who had to be retrieved from the bridge who were taking pictures. It is utterly unsafe. And I would ask the public to please, no matter how great the selfies might look, to please not go beyond the signs. Earlier this morning, we had a few things crop up that the elevating water conditions started to challenge us on. The first was a concern about the Rapidan Dam. Anyone who followed the news today and the issues that they've had at the dam, which was compromised and the water started to flow around the dam. You followed all of that. We communicated directly with Blue Earth County Emergency Management to make sure that we knew exactly, at least with the best information we could have, what the timing and the impact of that potential dam failure might mean for us. The dam has not collapsed, as it was frequently reported this morning. Its function has been compromised as the water continues to flow around the dam. The greatest impact of that dam failure will be 10 miles downstream. Of course, we're well outside of that 10-mile stretch. So while the water will make it down this way, it is estimated at this time to have a negligible impact on the current predicted water elevation, which the water is still rising and is expected to crest on Wednesday. So it's not like the water is going to go down, but the dam issue itself is not going to have a direct impact on our flooding situation. The other more immediate concern was the wastewater lift station that the city maintains at Mayo Park. And we've been working on this off and on all day. So this is Mayo Park as seen from Forest Prairie Road. This is not today, by the way. The lift station is the area on the left-hand side surrounded by concrete block. This is the lift station that collects wastewater from the city of Henderson, from Cambria, Bimeda, and a number of other users along the 169 Hilltop area. And it collects all that wastewater before carrying it into the wastewater treatment plant for treatment. There's a very good reason there was concrete block around that lift station, and last Friday, the wastewater department fortified the lift station even further by building a sand and plastic levee around that to stem the tide of rising water, anticipated rising water. As of this morning, the sump pumps that keep the water out of the lift station itself started to be unable to keep up with the rate of the rising floodwaters. One of the sump pumps went out completely. Staff did go out to service the pump this morning. It's only accessible by boat now. As you can see, it's from the opposite side, but this is what the lift station looks like right now. So the sumps keep the water out of the lift station so that the pumps that actually carry the wastewater can continue to function, but the pumps cannot keep up with the rate of the rising water. So starting this morning, city engineers and our wastewater manager and supervisor started designing a bypass plan. So effectively an engineering solution to bring the wastewater around the lift station from a higher elevation to still get to our wastewater treatment facility so we could effectively deal with the shutdown of this lift station. Those engineered plans were completed early this afternoon, and we have since shared those plans with the county and with the state of Minnesota requesting assistance. And we also had the Army Corps of Engineers review the engineering plans. They did look at them at 3 o'clock this afternoon, and while it was a quick review, they did generally give a thumbs up to the plans as they were engineered. So as we speak, wastewater manager Pete Burns is working with contractors to try to see who can get out here the quickest to start constructing the bypass. I want to thank Cleveland Fire and Rescue. At about 9 o'clock this morning, we contacted Cleveland Fire and Rescue and asked for a boat that could get us out to the lift station to service those sump pumps. They were here with a boat and a motor that worked within an hour. No questions asked. So thank you very much to Brady Hahn and the Cleveland Fire and Rescue team. We're also working with the county on this bypass plan with impact to CASA 22 traffic. So in order to get the bypass from north of Mayo Park down to the wastewater treatment facility, we have to go across 22 near the 169 interchange. The goal here is to minimally disrupt County Road 22 because that's right now our main ingress and egress into the city. So I think after this meeting, I'm going to be meeting with Pete and the county to discuss plans for 22 and how to get that bypass around. Sandbags. So thanks to some of our community members, we do have sandbags available to the public outside of the wastewater treatment facility located at 1500 North Commerce. They're outside of the fenced area. They're several pallets full. They're full sandbags. They are available for the city to use. At this time, after meeting with leadership of the city, there's no other critical city infrastructure that would be aided by sandbags at this point. The elevations at which our key infrastructure sit are high enough that with the forecasted river crest, the rest of our infrastructure should stay relatively high and dry. So the sandbags are available. We've spoken to the county several times today, and there are more sandbags available should we need them in the unexpected happens tonight. We'll take any questions.
Joe, with that picture that was taken today,
It was,
yeah, this afternoon,
correct.
yeah. And just to be clear, a lot of that water is not coming over the top of that berm. It's actually coming up from the bottom, is it not?
That's correct.
Okay, groundwater. So there's only so much we can do there, and the pumps are trying to keep up with that water that comes up from the ground. So I appreciate all the time you put into this. I know you've met with the sheriff's department today. You've met with our emergency management director, police. I mean, we're doing everything we can do to shore things up. So thank you for your work. Does anybody else have any questions on this?
What is a lift station? What is that exactly?
You want to explain that? Or do you have any directors here to explain it
I can
in
answer that.
detail? Yeah.
Sure. So there are points at which the wastewater travels and then it needs to go up in elevation. So Mayo Park is at a lower elevation than the location of the treatment facility where the wastewater needs to enter. And so the lift station will hit a point where it's pumped upwards to a higher elevation and then it can flow via gravity to the next location.
Gives it a boost, if you will. And it's important to keep that lift station running, otherwise that water doesn't keep moving, that waste, so.
Doesn't get treated.
What's that?
Doesn't get treated.
It doesn't get treated, no. So.
And we've also, I will add, throughout our conversations with the county and surrounding municipalities have offered assistance if needed. We've offered equipment, we've offered staff. If anyone needs anything, we've monitored the situation in Waterville, of course, where they've had the National Guard station monitoring their lift stations. And The county's been very responsive. Really appreciate Administrator Joe Martin, Emergency Management Director Tammy Stewig, Sheriff Mason, the state of Minnesota, all very, very responsive.
Thank you. And I'm sure we'll get into a little of this again when we get into local emergency declarations. We'll cover that. So, any questions for our city administrator? If not, I'd like to move into our regular agenda if we could. Starting off in ordinance 606, second and final reading of ordinance 606. Mr. Roby.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is directly tied to the public hearing that was just conducted a few minutes ago. City Code Section 33.019 speaks to the lease of airport property. We would like to extend the potential for lease terms from current 5 years to up to 20 years. It doesn't guarantee a 20-year term, but it gives council the option to lease property up to 20 years.
Thank you. Do we have a volunteer that wants to read ordinance 606?
Move to bypass.
Waive it? Okay.
Second.
We had a motion by Councilmember Tui to waive the second reading. And that would be the final reading, and a second by Councilmember Swanberg. Any other discussion, comments, or concerns? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Everybody opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to ordinance 607, first reading. Mr. Roby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is excruciatingly timely. The Planning Commission has been reviewing changes to the zoning code, and one of the districts that actually they most recently reviewed was the floodplain district. So FEMA recently issued brand new floodplain maps for all of Sueur County and Sibley County and some other surrounding counties. And as part of the issuance of those new flood maps, which are very, very extensive, the DNR developed model ordinance language for cities within these flood districts to adopt. The ordinance itself, as you can see in the packet, is quite exhaustive. And again, it is the DNR model ordinance. Staff reviewed it, found it to be sufficient, didn't find any reason to question the DNR's input. A lot of it deals with construction of buildings in the floodplain itself, and that's not something that we allow. And thankfully, here in Sueur, the fact that we are not sandbagging everything means that we don't have a lot of structures in the 100-year floodplain right now. But the DNR updated some of the definitions and terms and best practices in the ordinance. So Planning Commission reviewed this ordinance 607 and recommended City Council adoption. So tonight, I'm requesting a motion to conduct and waive the first reading of ordinance 607.
Thank you, Mr. Roby. And the timing of this is good too. Ordinance 607. Do we have a volunteer to read ordinance 607?
I'll make a motion to waive the first reading of ordinance 607.
Thank you. Motion made, motion made by Councilmember Swanberg, seconded by Councilmember Sullivan. Any other discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to ordinance 608, first reading. Mr. Roby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the other zoning district that the Planning Commission has most recently reviewed. I want to give my appreciation to both the Planning Commission and city staff, Justin Nielsen and Nate Sparks, for wading through these zoning districts. It's good from time to time for the Planning Commission to review these to see if there needs to be any updating to where we allow certain types of businesses and what the districts look like. And the Planning Commission is working their way through each of the districts. They'll be looking at the public institutional district next. Planning Commission reviewed the B districts, which are business districts, B1, which consists of B1A and B1B and B2. This is primarily known as our downtown district, mainly commercial, but does allow for residential in certain areas. Planning Commission spent two meetings discussing updates to the B1A and B1B and B2. And at their last meeting recommended language that you see in front of you in ordinance 608 to be adopted and modified in city zoning code.
Thank you, Mr. Roby. That said, I will have for a volunteer to read ordinance 608.
I have a question.
So
Do we assume that everything that's out there, all these businesses and restaurants, whatever, meet this now? So nothing, because I couldn't find anything in here for grandfathering anything in. So the assumption is they all meet this.
correct. And I believe all of them currently, all of the operational businesses do.
As far as we could tell, yeah.
Yes,
Okay, that's the only question.
yes.
Thank you.
And that was one of the biggest points of discussion was the planning commission saw the need to make some changes, but didn't want to negatively affect existing businesses.
Mr. Stewart, that was a question you didn't want to read 608.
Oh,
Make that motion to waive the first reading of ordinance
Thank
608.
you. We have a motion to waive ordinance 608, the first reading, seconded by Councilmember Schrader. Any other comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor? Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to agenda item 9B, the airport ground lease agreement. Mr. Roby, a little background on this, please.
I would love to. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As council may recall, in March of 2023, the Airport Commission and City Council considered a revision to the lease agreement that the city uses with owners of private hangars out at the airport. So the Sueur Municipal Airport has a number of locations on which privately owned hangars have been constructed. And historically, the city used a lease agreement that frankly didn't meet the needs or protections that were required of the city, and really didn't provide a lot of protections for the hangar owners who are making a pretty significant investment when they build a $200,000 to $400,000 structure on a piece of ground. So City Council considered an update to that agreement in March of 2023. Following the adoption of that agreement, the Airport Commission desired to revisit the agreement. And if I could sum it up in one sentence, it would be if there was a desire to make the lease agreement more consistent with surrounding airports. So as you can imagine, if you're someone who has an extra $300,000 and you're looking to build a hangar, you could go to any number of local or regional airports and build a hangar. And there were some terms in the 2023 version of the agreement that were seen as potentially being off-putting to potential builders of hangars. And some, just because there are some regulations that were in place in the new agreement that were not in place at other airports. And so at the direction of the commission, we started a long process of revising the agreement, drawing from other regional airports in consultation with the city attorney and with a lot of discussion coming from within the city staff and from hangar owners who do at our airport, and our hangar owners take a lot of pride in the airport. They take a lot of pride in their buildings, and they want to see properties go up, buildings go up that add value to the airport and don't detract from it. So we had a lot of conversations over just about a year to come to a new draft of the agreement. The agreement was brought to the Airport Commission at their June meeting and presented. The Airport Commission recommended approval of the agreement with 2 amendments to the agreement. And I would like to speak to those just briefly. I believe, this is the opinion of staff, is that the 2 amendments that the Airport Commission recommended are, one would be the clarification of the use of leased premises for aviation purposes. So we currently don't have any hangar owners who lease space out of the airport who do not use their hangar primarily for aviation purposes. But staff opinion would be that it would be more appropriate to place this in airport policy so that any user of the airport, whether they are subleasing a hangar or they are using the airport for any purpose, that the primary purpose of all activity at the airport is aviation. So that we don't get someone putting up a shed and renting it out to vintage car collectors or something. So we believe that that could be clarified in airport policy. And the other modification that the commission recommended was that some of the language be clarified that a lease would not automatically, the terms of the lease wouldn't necessarily renew, but could be renegotiated by the lessee and city for a term between 5 and 20 years. And based upon the opinion of, the initial opinion of legal counsel and the opinion of staff, that revision itself wouldn't be necessary to either protect the city or to protect the hangar owners. And there is likely some concern from the hangar owners that if the city holds all the renegotiation power at the end, that someone willing to build a hangar might look at that and say, well, I'm thinking of selling my hangar in 5 years. And if the next guy has to come in and renegotiate and gets a really terrible set of terms, I'm gonna have a hard time selling my hangar. So the agreement that's in front of City Council tonight is the agreement that was initially presented to the Airport Commission. I would ask City Council had a chance to review this, that you consider the revisions that the Airport Commission would like to add. If Council would like to add those, I will take it back to legal counsel and representatives from the airport for further review. Again, the recommendation of staff is that the revisions are not necessary to protect the interests of the city long term.
Thank you, Mr. Rowe. Again, I want to reiterate, our legal staff has looked this over and their recommendation is to move ahead with things as written.
Correct. Thank you.
Would it be advisable to send this back to the airport commission to have them review it again? Or do we want to do something here?
The airport commission is, the pilots and stuff, made up quite a few pilots.
And City Council member, Mr. Huntington.
Yeah, okay. So if they want this, is it something that the city is holding up to give that to them?
They're asking for 2 concessions on there, if I understand this clearly. One was for some more clarity on what the hangars are to be used for. Okay. And then the second one was a refreshment memory.
The renegotiation of the lease.
Renegotiation of the lease.
But the city isn't going to lose anything, or correct me if I'm wrong, lose anything by giving this to them. I mean, these are people that live aviation. And to me, they have credibility when they ask for something like that.
Very fair, and I would point out that at the last airport commission where this was considered, there are 5 members of the airport commission. The 2 pilots who sit on the airport commission were not present at the meeting.
Right. Okay. So again, my point is, or my question is, if these amendments are included, is or has the city given up anything?
I think other than a little bit of time and legal matter on this, I think not. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think it's mostly a matter of time, and
Well, I mean,
I don't think that's his question. He's wondering, what are we giving up to agree to these amendments?
and look, to my point is, I don't see anything. And these guys, or these folks, love aviation. They're committed to it. They're committed to that airport. I'm curious as to why we wouldn't want to give them what they want when we're not losing anything.
so my only counter to that would be that I heard from hangar owners after the meeting, after the commission meeting, that they felt the aviation community was not represented in that recommendation of modifications, because the 2 pilots weren't at the meeting where these modifications were made. So the draft here was a draft between our legal counsel, city staff, the Association of Aviation Pilots Legal Counsel, and a representative of the hangar owners. Effectively a negotiation, right? I mean, they own the property, they own the buildings, but we own the property. Right. So we set the terms, but understanding that they have needs as well. So they were very comfortable with the version that had been negotiated prior to the airport commission meeting.
They be including the hangar owners?
They being the hangar owners, yes. And the recommendation coming out of airport commission, the two individuals who sit on the airport commission who were not present at the meeting, the two individuals who operate airplanes at the airport were not present at the commission meeting. And so after the meeting, I got feedback from those who do operate out of the airport that the recommended amendments to the agreement would likely not have been supported by the two members who were not there.
So it's a hearsay thing, because you don't know for sure because they weren't there. But it goes back to my original question. Are we losing out on anything by allowing them to have this? If that's what what was the commission vote?
3-0.
Okay, with the amendments? Or without?
No, with the amendments.
Okay, so you got a 3-0. I'll get back to the original question. What is it that we're gonna lose, we being the city, by allowing them to have this? Or what advantageous gain will those airport folks get by including? And I don't see anything. Personally, the little bit I know, why would we want to push back against the airport commission?
We don't want to you're saying we don't want to overstep them. I understand that. Yeah.
Essentially, especially if there's no loss to the city.
Can I make a recommendation that we send this back to the commission for some clarity? And then we re-examine this once they've.
I mean, add to that.
Yeah,
And then
you were there.
bring it back, have them vote. Hopefully those other two members of our commission will be there to make their comments worth it. And then do it that way, you mean?
I am, yes.
I guess there's no, when's our next meeting? I forget. It's
September.
September.
Ultimately, that was your recommendation, right, Scott?
I don't see it.
Is this lease agreement something that we need finalized before September?
Well, it's been going on for a while, so I don't think.
Yeah, we're running 18 months without a lease right now. So we're operating under the terms of the old lease at this point.
Which is 5 years, right?
Well, no, the existing prior lease was only individual 1-year agreements.
Again, I don't see how we, the city profits from pushing back against a unanimous vote by the Airports Commission. I don't see the reason we would want to do that.
I'm gonna make a motion, if I may, that we send this back to the airport commission and let them redraft this and come to an agreement on what to do with this, and then we'll examine that when it comes back. That's been seconded by Councilmember Schluter. Any other comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor? Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. You opposed. We have one nay, and that would be Councilmember Huntington. Moving on to resolution R 2024-035, that'd be election judge appointments. Mr. Roby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. City will have be the site for 2 elections yet this year, and we've got to provide election judges. Resolution R 2024-035 was drafted to appoint those judges and also grant the city clerk the ability to appoint future open replacement election judges to ensure a free and fair election. The resolution also calls for a wage to be set at $12 per hour. The current wage is $10 per hour, and frankly, $12 an hour doesn't even. Yeah. And God bless our election judges.
Yeah, free call. Free call.
Are there some new ones in the list? And what is the magic number for judges?
City Clerk Danny. I don't know if we have any new ones in this list. These are all prior judges.
And we have what we need?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? If not, I will entertain a motion to adopt resolution R 2024-035 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Huntington was, made the motion, seconded by Councilmember Dewey. Any discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor? Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to the added item, which would be resolution R 2024-036, declaration of local emergency. Mr. Roby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This was the late addition to the agenda tonight, and there are really two main reasons why, in the light of our current flooding emergency, that City Council should consider a declaration of local emergency. One is from a documentation standpoint. Yes, the Sueur County globally has a declaration of emergency coming from the governor's office. But from a local jurisdiction standpoint, it would be best practice for us if council deems this to be a local emergency, which I would be inclined to hope that most would agree, given the emergency is putting us in a position where public safety and infrastructure is at risk, and we are going outside of our normal everyday duties to try to mitigate that risk and protect the public. So that's the first thing, so that when we start filing for documentation to request reimbursement from the federal government or the state government, that we have a clear line at which point we've declared a local emergency, and then all of those expenses, all that documentation is tied to a specific emergency. And just for some historical context, the last time the city declared a local emergency was in March of 2020 in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The second thing that the declaration allows the city to do is to act quicker. So as I mentioned earlier, after this meeting, I'll be speaking with wastewater manager Pete Burns about contractor options to install a bypass for the Mayo Park lift station. An action like that, taking action such as declaring a local emergency, allows the city to bypass some actions that normally might require city council action. So for this, I need the quickest company, the quickest responsible bidder, not necessarily the lowest responsible bidder. If I have a company who come up tomorrow and they're 10 grand higher than a company that can come up 3 days, I need one that's more expensive. And so instead of going through a formal state bidding process, this allows us to cut through some of that and document all of it, of course, but we can enter into contracts more quickly, rent equipment, purchase supplies and materials without necessarily coming from first city council and asking permission for all of these things. If we need to hire temporary employees to respond to an emergency, which I don't anticipate in this case, we could do that without having to bring those hirings before city council. So those are the two reasons why council is being asked to declare this a local emergency, and then city council will be asked. We'll bring this back, and of course, we'll provide updates to city council via email primarily. You can always call and ask questions. We'll provide updates via email, but at some point in the future, then when we deem it appropriate, we'll bring a recommendation back to city council to dissolve the local emergency declaration.
As I understand it, if you don't do this, it can screw up the reimbursement process.
Correct.
Thank you for asking that. Any other questions regarding this matter? Pretty simple, straightforward, something we need to do. At this time, I'll entertain any motions to adopt resolution R 2024-036 as presented. Thank you, Councilmember Sueur.
Second.
Councilmember Huntington, seconded. Any other discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor? Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to items of appreciation, council members, is your opportunity to share what's going on in the community, what's going on with your commissions. And as always, we start with Councilmember Clayton.
I've got nothing, sir.
Thank you, Councilmember Schleter.
Other than attending the planning commission meeting, I have nothing to report.
Thank you, Councilmember Sullivan.
We're gonna need a meeting Joe touched on tonight. Also fire commission Wednesday night.
Thank you, Councilmember Sullivan. Councilmember Swanman.
Just a couple items of congratulations. Congrats to the Sueur Henderson trap team. They participated in the state tournament here this past week. I believe they finished 10th. Congrats also to the 2024 Giant Days Grand Marshals, Art and Barb Straub, for two excellent choices. And then Joe mentioned this as well. Thank you to the fire and rescue from Cleveland for helping us out today, and then also to Old Home Farms for helping us out with sandbags.
Thank you. On to Councilmember Dewey.
Nothing tonight.
Nothing tonight. Thank you, sir. Councilmember Williams.
I just want to hit off the Giant Days committee, compliment them on their event that they had that recognized Art and Barb. They did a very nice job, very nice bio on the two of them, so it's really quite well done. Really impressed with that committee that night. So good kickoff.
Thank you. I just want to end with congratulating again Officer Jones and Officer McRoberts on becoming the Sueur's finest, part of the Sueur's finest. We're looking forward to the work they do, and I can guarantee you they will make a difference in this community. Hey, Joe, I want to thank you for all your work today. You and I spent a little time together. We were met with the sheriff's department today. We met with the sheriff himself, our police chief, our emergency management director. I know it was very stressful for you today. I kind of see it, but you managed it quite well. And I want to thank you for all your good work.
Can't do it without a team.
All right, very good. So with that, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Thank you. All in favor, second by Councilmember 2. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?